Hey guys, I'm the 50s Kid. This should be the conclusion to the M54 engine rebuild project. I've got the engine in the car, I've got the head on. We're gonna put the exhaust manifolds in this video, and then we're gonna put the front of the car back on. I'm going to cover refilling the AC system in a separate video, but after we get everything back on, we'll start the car up, see how it sounds. So let's get started. So this is the reason I didn't put the front of the car on, so that I can give you this angle for putting the exhaust manifolds back on. Put both of these shields in here just so I don't end up forgetting one. Hopefully it doesn't cover too much stuff. So the short one is obviously number 2. Okay, there we go. So I was able to clean the nuts off. They're actually copper. For real this time. I'd like to get these all threaded on from down here if I can, or at least as many of them as I can, without giving myself carpal tunnel. I'm guessing that the final one is up there in the corner. Yeah, I can see it. Just making sure all those nuts are threading on. Yeah, I can't screw that one in here. And this is too big for those. So we'll have to get the other ones from above. You know what? I'm going to pull this out of here just for now to get in our way. I think it needs just a slightly longer extension. That one was good. Okay. Got that one. Now we can put this back on. And we'll get the other manifold in. Hopefully this engine mount, not the actual engine mount bracket, but the engine mount itself that I left in here isn't going to get in the way. Okay, looks like it's fine. I can slip up past it, but actually I'm probably going to need to take it out anyway to get at the bolts. Probably should have waited to put the AC compressor in. That would have been easier as well. I mean, I could remove it. Just thinking, should I bother? Tell you, they were not thinking about you guys installing or removing these when the thing was still in the car. They really weren't. They did not care. Want to do this when it's off the car, that's fine. It's actually kind of easy because you can see them from the side. But here, you just can't see them. I might make it easier on myself. Might as well, right? I I mean, I think you get the idea of how you're supposed to reinstall them and, you know, how you're supposed to fight it. But if you don't have to, if you for some reason have chosen to do this the way I'm doing it, then you just don't, you don't have to have the AC compressor in there. I'll leave that one in. Okay, AC compressor out of the way for now. Yeah, see, this is easier. It's also kind of cocked a little bit, which I'm trying to figure out why. I gotta undo that. Get that off of there. There's something not right. Okay, right there is where it should be. And now that I can sort of reach up, I'm trying to get this bottom bolt threaded on. Doesn't want to go on. Okay, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this is the 6th one. Okay. No, and then there's 7, 8 up here. It's really strange. It almost feels like this exhaust manifold is bent or something. It's just kind of sticking out in the back here a little bit like this, even though it's flat against the front. So I think we should try to drive some of these screws in and see if it can just, they'll just draw it up on there, because I can't even really get the back to thread it on, believe it or not. I'm wondering if I should go about it in a different way. Maybe try to get the back screwed on first and then try to get the front screwed on. That might turn out to be the best option. Yeah, honestly, that's very kind of strange and troubling. So let's see if I can use this. We going the right way? Yeah. Just sort of using the second to bolt from the end to draw the manifold up onto the head. Maybe that'll straighten things out. Yeah, it looks like it basically has straightened things out. Yeah, very, very strange. Come on. Wow, it's like my ratchet's trapped in there now. That's crazy. Yay, I got it. So we should be good now. Let's see what I can get from here. Okay. And we're not long enough for that or that. And it actually looks like the exhaust manifold is sticking out from the front a little bit, like it's not fully seated on the head, which is troubling for me because this is like the one thing that I cannot get at a junkyard here in California. because it's got the integrated catalytic converter. So I'm hoping that this does not make for an exhaust leak. Need to get a longer extension. You need a 1 inch and a 3 inch so that you got 4 inches. Let's get these final 2 bolts on. They're the rear ones. I don't think there's a stud in the head for that final rear one. I didn't check, which is stupid of me. Should have checked. But you know what? I don't think we absolutely need it because that side of the manifold is being pressed against the head really tightly. It's just this side that I'm worried about. This side is, and particularly the bottom corner, is sticking out. I'll try to get a close-up on it. So I just can't maneuver the camera in here because there's just not enough room. The viewfinder on the camera is sticking out too much. You're hitting the side of the car. But basically behind this block, the front of the front exhaust manifold is just sticking out a little bit. Basically that side right there, you can see how the bolt isn't drawn down as much as the top one. So it's very odd. Nothing much I can do about it, except just hope that it doesn't leak. I'm going to try to draw it down a little more and see what happens. Yeah, the reason that stud is missing is because this is a different head than my original one. See, if I go any more with this, it's just going to strip out the bolt. It should be all right. I do have other studs that I pulled from a different head in the junkyard, just in case something like this did happen. So I will clean this up real quick and see if I can just drive it in there to make sure this end of the threads is good. That way I can just thread it in and, you know, see if I can bolt that final bottom corner down. It's the very, very back in the bottom. So there we go. We're cleaned up. Just clean that up on the brass wire wheel. Let's see if I can get this in. Okay, this is working. Being able to reach through because the AC compressor is not here is so helpful. Without that access, I would just be sort of reaching in the dark. Okay, that feels pretty good. I'm just going to try to give all the other ones another quick turn. Make sure they're good. I know this one's really tight. That one could have used a few more turns. This one, I guess I didn't get. Oh, yeah, and I didn't get this one. I remember now. Done. So guys, that was hard enough without the AC line right in here and without the compressor. With those things, it would just be, you know, it would be really a pain in the butt. It was a pain in the butt to get them off, honestly, but I think it's probably even worse to get them on if those things were in there. So there is a good case for just bolting these manifolds onto the head before you put the head in the car. And if, you know, using an engine hoist, if you have an engine hoist, you can, I'm saying, if you have an engine hoist, what you can do is bolt the manifolds onto the head and then lower the head using your engine hoist, and, you know, get it aligned just in the same way I've shown you in this video. That would definitely be a lot easier if you're just doing a head gasket job and whatnot, because getting these back in is just a nightmare. Okay, ignore what I said earlier about that top one, the stud on it sticking out more. That's actually just because that stud isn't screwed into this head as much. But you can see that the head has, or the manifold has been drawn to the head sufficiently. So we should be good. What else can I show you? What other part of it? Can you see that? Yeah. Looking all right back there. So things should be good now. I think that they basically got straightened out. So we're good to go. Several of you pointed out in the disassembly video that I never should have disconnected this cable from the engine latch, the hood latch. I should have just disconnected it here at this junction, which, yeah, I agree with you. I don't know why I didn't. It was stupid not to at least investigate this and figure out what's going on. Okay, we just pry it this way. Okay. So in here, there's just a little junction-like thing that we can get this cable out of. Should be able to, let's see, if we push it in a little, okay. It just kind of slides out. Yeah, I was expecting that side to come out more easily. See, we can't push it from the back. Okay, I'm not having any success with that. I don't particularly know why, but I don't care right now. I can still get this back together. Maybe you'll have better luck with yours, but mine just didn't want to come out of there. So I've taken a look on the whole front section thing, and I've seen how this cable can hook back in. It's really not that complicated. So I think I'm going to do it that way and just move on. So let's get these AC lines back in. They've all got new O-rings, and I've lubricated the O-rings with some PAG oil so that they can slip in easier. Right there. I'm just going to reconnect this to the canister right here, and I'll change the canister right at the end, right when I'm ready to actually fill the system. So I've got the compressor back in. You can get this line on here. Oops. Okay. The one without the washer is the one for this main line, this main AC line. Ooh, that one's going to need to be run in first. This one down here is tricky. Probably gonna need to get that by hand. I'm going to reconnect the electrical line for the compressor. I think that should kind of go down right there. And then the connector for the low pressure sensor over here. Not that it really matters right now, but I just want to make sure that it's that I'm not mixing it up with something else. Probably shouldn't be able to because it's keyed. As you can see, I've reconnected those little air ducts down at the bottom. So now we're just kind of ready to put the front piece on. Before I get that on, let's see if I can get a close-up of the mechanism in here and where to reconnect that line. So you can see that right in there is where it goes. This what I've got my finger on is the hole, and so the line just slips through this little slot right here. So I just have to kind of reach in there, connect it, and reconnect everything after that. So I actually had to take this whole frame completely apart. I had to take the pusher fan out of it in order to get this top plastic piece off that was covering this, in order to just expose that, because I just couldn't get the little cable in there. I just couldn't see what I was doing because that cover was in the way. So real pain in the butt. Should not have done it this way, I realize now. But now that I got it apart, not too big a deal. You just need to get that cover off. That's the problem. Okay. There we go. Now we're on. So I'll get this back on. I get the fan and the cover and everything put back in place. Okay, I think that cover should just be screwed on first. It's got 3 little tabs here that fit into slots. So this pusher fan's just held on with these 4 nuts. And then this front fascia goes on, and this thing is held in by these little plastic clips that go through here and ultimately through here and here. And these were a real pain to actually get out. You actually have to push on the back of these, you know, with a tool. Let me show you. So I had to go and put pressure on the back right here in order to get it to pop out. I actually broke one of them before I figured that out. So tricky to get out. I suggest spraying them down with some solvent or something, brake clean, to clean them out before you try, just to make it that much easier. And then this slips in up through here. Probably goes in like that. Okay, these can just push in. Now we can get this screwed on. Then we have the 4 side bolts. So now we're going to get the headlight put back in. I want to get this wiring harness up here first. Make sure that my trim doesn't stick out. And this headlight. I actually do have a replacement piece of trim for it here, but I'm waiting to paint it because I want to collect some of the other pieces of trim that are missing on my bumper and just paint them all in one shot. You know, if I go the spray can route, because 1 can of the spray primer, I'm going to use a 2K primer, and once you crack those cans, once you crack the hardener in, you got to use it right away. So I just don't want to buy 2 cans just for some little pieces. So there are 4 wiring harnesses for each light, and it is kind of difficult to, well, I think it's impossible to get them mixed up because they're all different sizes. So oh, this one's broken. That's why it's not snapping. That one goes there, and this one goes up here. Did it snap? It snapped. And you know, the same thing on the other side. I already connected them. Again, yeah, you just can't mix them up, you know? Okay. So this guy should be able to just sit back in place. Okay, so it's probably easier to unscrew this. That's what's holding it in. So that's what that's for. Okay, so that's got that in there. So now we'll put the AC condenser in. So I rinsed off this AC condenser. There were a lot of rocks and there was a lot of dirt embedded in the front of it. So I rinsed it off with a hose. I blew it out a lot with some compressed air. That eventually got it clean. I also rinsed the inside of it out with solvent. Well, actually I turned it up. I turned it upside down so that it would all flow out of the top port. And a lot of oil actually came out. More oil than I was expecting. I would say at least an ounce, which leads me to be all right with my conclusion that the the evaporator is going to contain some oil as well. So I'm okay with putting 1 ounce less of oil into the compressor, which is what I did. Oh, okay, there's a little channel. That's what it is. These little tabs on the AC condenser actually fit into little channels, and I just can't see them. Oh, and then there's a screw here, which I didn't take out. I was just storing it in there. Hold on. Okay. So if you press it into its little channels, then it fits perfectly. And it also had one of these little fastener things, these little clip fasteners up on this side. Whew. Hard to press in. So you just got to make sure that the AC condenser is pressed all the way in and make sure that clip is all the way in before you try to press the center of it in. So I can reconnect this hose. Oh yeah, okay. This hose goes on the bottom, this power steering hose. So that's just a little quick connect thing. The top one goes up to the reservoir, which is going to be up here. You know what I've realized? That this headlight is just going to be in the way as far as reinstalling those AC lines. So I think I'm actually going to take the headlight back out, and I'm also going to leave the front bumper off because the front bumper needs to be off in order to get the headlight on and off. Plus, it's a little bit easier to access the condenser when the bumper's off anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna just pull that headlight back out. I'll leave it off. We don't need that to start the car. So I'm just gonna put that on the very, very, very last thing. So now we're gonna get our AC lines back on. So this one goes on the bottom. Again, got the O-rings lubed up with PAG oil. That's the way to do it. The fill port goes up here. Okay. You know, I don't remember this bolt for this compressor line being like difficult to access. Maybe it absolutely was, obviously, but I just don't remember it. I could probably get it with the straight bit that I have, but I've got this little ball one that can kind of go at an angle a little bit. And this bolt doesn't want to drive in very easily. Let go. All the rest of this is pretty standard stuff that I've already covered before: intake manifold, various radiator stuff. You know, I will throw links up on the screen in the cards, and so you can just follow those if you're unfamiliar with any of these processes. I'm gonna get the O2 sensors plugged back in. You see that I labeled them, and then I labeled the sensors themselves so I know which ones go where, and I'm just gonna drop the ones that go down below there. I'm gonna drop them down one at a time so I know which one to screw into which manifold before I plug them in, and also make sure that I can get up there and put them into the little brackets that they're supposed to fit in to on the side. It's basically the little clip that's on the other side of this bracket that bolted to the back of the cylinder head. So I'm going to do all that, get the valve cover put on, get the intake manifold on, get the radiator in, and all that stuff. So I'm not going to cover any of that in the rest of this video. I guess I will film, I'm going to stop, I'll film the AC refilling video, also the expansion tank, or the receiver dryer replacement. And then I'll cover refilling the system. Actually, you know what? I'll do that after I get the car up and running, because we need the car to be running to do that, of course. So I'm going to put the car back together right now. So guys, my valve cover was leaking before I started this job, and I've been using my straight edge, and I can clearly see that it's got a dished pattern here in the center. And then by measuring it on the sides, I can see that this edge is coming, away. It's pressing down this way. And then this edge is also coming away. It's pressing down this way. So this thing is kind of warped. So when I put this back on, I'm not going to torque it with a torque wrench. Instead, I'm going to do it by feel and see if I can, press it down more in the center and a little bit more at the sides. Nathan from Nathan's DIY Garage actually did a valve cover video that I think is better than mine, because he talked about how he's seeing this warp on a lot of cylinder heads, because he works on a lot of cars. And, I guess people on his channel were fighting with him about, you shouldn't put RTV on because, it's just a mess to clean off the next time. And I generally agree with that. It does make a huge mess, but if it's what you got to do in order to deal with a warped cover, then it's what you got to do. So, I'm going to do it this way. If this way doesn't work, then I will put RTV on, and/or I think I'm just going to keep an eye out at the junkyard for another cover, maybe on a low mileage car. That way I can get one that isn't warped. There's got to be one of them out there that isn't warped, So I'm doing this. This is just to help stick the gaskets in here so they don't fall down when I'm putting this thing on, when I flip it over. So that's just a little tip for you. New gasket came with my kit. Okay, so I'm gonna get this on the car. All right guys, well, everything is back together. We are just ready to go. I've got the exhaust on, I've got everything back on. The only thing I want to mention is when you're putting this, the engine mount bracket on this side back in, make sure that you put the bolt on this bracket, bolt this bracket to the engine mount, so that when you lift the engine up by the oil pan, it'll pivot this way. If you don't actually bolt this one in, then the whole engine's going to move up, and then it's going to move up this way because it's sort of heavier to this side without the intake manifold on and everything. So you want to bolt that mount in. That way when you raise it up, it'll pivot, and then you'll have enough room to get the exhaust mount in there. So that's the only thing I want to tell you there. I've gone ahead and pulled the main relay. It's this lighter blue one in the back. I'll get you a close-up of it later. The reason I've done that is because I want to crank the engine a couple of times to build up oil pressure before I go ahead and fire it up. I've got oil in, I've got coolant in, a little bit more than 2 gallons was needed. I'm right up here to the level of the bleeder right here. That should definitely be enough, but I've got my coolant bucket underneath just in case any spills out once the thermostat opens. We're gonna do the AC after everything's already warmed up and after everything's all good and running and happy. Got power steering fluid in, and I had drained my automatic transmission fluid because I've been having sort of a noise coming from that area, like a scraping sound when I first turn the car on, and then it kind of goes away once it warms up. And I wanted to be able to pull off the torque converter and just kind of take a look and see what was going on. And it turns out the torque converter is scraping the new oil pump just a little bit in like a circular pattern, just a very small area. But there's really nothing I could do about that. At the time, it didn't occur to me that I could try to grind a little bit of material off of the oil pump ribs, because I don't know. I didn't want to mess with it. It's fine. There's nothing really I can do about it. So I put that back in, and the main point is that I need to add transmission fluid back in. So I've added enough right now, and it's spilling out of the transmission. But it's once I turn the car on, it's going to suck that in. I'm going to have to get down there and put all the ATF fluid in. So it's going to be a little bit of a juggle to get all the fluids in properly and everything, but it should be manageable. I'm going to switch to the camera microphone for this whole startup procedure. Okay, we're on the on-camera mic now. Don't forget to reconnect the negative cable on the exhaust side engine mount back to the frame of the car, because without that the car is not going to start. The engine is not grounded to the frame, it's not grounded to the battery, so your car just will not start at all. Took me a minute or two to figure that out just now. My battery's kind of low because it's been sitting here a little while, but I think it will crank, so let's try to do this. Okay, that should be good. So I'm going to reconnect the relay and we'll go ahead and try to start it. Moment of truth. Prime it a couple times. Interesting. Okay. We're missing fuel or spark. So let me check a couple of things. Okay, now let's get this thing started. Let's just see if it starts. Okay, the oil pressure light's out, so we got oil pressure. And we got that loudness, that's the lifters. I'm gonna shut this off. So, okay, cool. You know, things are running, things are great. I took my gloves off, so I gotta put them back on so I can refill the transmission fluid and everything, but hey, that sounded good. So I've got more transmission fluid put in there. I also have more Dexron in here, the ATF. That was the sucking noise we kind of heard earlier. So let's start her up again. And this time I'm just gonna go into the car and refill the ATF and get it to be good. So that knocking is the lifters. They're gonna fill back up. Okay, got the ATF in there, proper level. You gotta get the cap on. Okay, cap's on. I just want to get it tightened up. Okay, and it looks like I made a mistake with the, hold on. So, yeah, I can see there's smoke and stuff. I can see that I made a mistake with the transmission linkage because it's the wheels were spinning just now and it's supposed to be in neutral, so I probably didn't make sure that it was in neutral before I hooked it back up here. So I'm hoping that's just because, you know, that's oil that's burning off of the manifolds because, you know, my gloves were oily and such as I was getting them back on. But yeah, we'll find out for sure. Hopefully it'll stop smoking in a little bit. So I'm going to check fluids again. I'm going to fix the transmission linkage, and then we'll see what's going on over here. Okay, I can still see that there's smoke coming from down here. When it's going strong, it smells like oil, like, you know, oil that's burning off, you know, that just sometimes happens with exhausts or exhaust manifolds when you get them back in. There could have been, actually where they were sitting, there was some oil on my shelf. Oh, okay. There was oil from the cam trays because the cam trays were on the same shelf. So I can see that there's oil where the exhaust manifolds were sitting. Let me show you. See, they were sitting down here. So they were, you know, there might have been oil that was sort of leaking out over, you know, the ends of the ends were like right here. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead, start the car, just let it burn off and get it over with. Anyway, I think this is probably getting boring for you guys now, so I'm gonna stop the camera. I'm gonna let these problems sort of take care of themselves, and then we'll do a wrap up. So I went to take off the valve cover because I suspected that the valve cover gasket was leaking somehow, and I discovered that I forgot to tighten the back bolt down. And this was because I put the valve cover on before I had the engine mount in, so this was actually sitting lower in the car and I couldn't actually get at that bolt. And by the time I had the exhaust mount in there, I just forgot all about that. Also, I took the valve cover off completely just to check and make sure that the gasket hadn't been folded under in any of the corners. And I realized that I forgot to put the RTV in the little corners of the half moons. So forgot to do that too, rookie. Anyway, I have fixed it and we're gonna start it and hopefully it's good now. So wish me luck. So I guess now we wait and hopefully we don't see smoke again. Well, I am not seeing smoke. We had smoke by this time, didn't we? I don't know, it's been on about 2 minutes or so, 2-3 minutes. No smoke, everything's looking good. So I think problem solved. Okay, so that was the issue. Looks like problem solved, no smoke this time. Looks like we're good to go. It's running good. Everything looks fine at this point. I really want to test drive it right now, but the front bumper's still not on because I still need to change the AC receiver dryer. And I have a new one. I'm going to do that as part of the AC video. So I still need to refill the AC system. Doesn't matter right now, it's nighttime, but I need to refill the AC system and it's just much easier to get at that right now. So the problem now is that I've run out of time tonight. I need to actually get to my normal job. So looks like I'm gonna have to finish this up tomorrow. So I have refilled my AC system. We're gonna go ahead and get the headlights put back on. All right, let's get this bumper put on. It's going to align with these little white sort of plastic guides on the side. We're not exactly centered. Gotta come over here a little. Okay, got it on that side. Got it on that side. Go up through, let's get them started. Those are T50s. All right, I'm just gonna get the splash panels put on. I gotta get everything reconnected. I forgot to reconnect the fog lights. Hopefully I can get those from below. And the horns too, we'll see. Last, we just gotta get this guy plugged back in. So we got the pressure sensor switch down here, or the level sensor. I should say. And then this is the actual power for the motor. That goes there. This goes down, fits in the little hole down there, goes there, and that's it. Done. Well, I took a successful spin around the neighborhood. Everything's all good. She drives just fine. It's a little faster, a little torquier. So, you know, I'm happy. I didn't get on it yet. You know, the machine shop, here's the thing. I asked for a plateau finish. They called me up and they asked me what kind of rings I was using. And I told them it was a steel, you know, compression ring. And he said, yeah, we don't do a plateau finish for a steel compression ring. We only do it for chrome rings or moly rings. And I was like, oh, I've never heard that before, or read that, obviously. And I didn't feel like I was in much of a position to argue with him or insist that he go ahead and do a plateau finish on the cylinder walls. So I just let him do what he was gonna do. And then I asked him what kind of a break-in period I should do. And he basically told me, you know, the manufacturer's break-in period, which is like for the first couple hundred miles, you don't wanna go above 4,000 RPM. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just do that. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna follow that procedure. You know, basically vary your engine speed. Don't stay at one particular engine speed too long. So try to avoid the freeway, obviously. I just, you know, drive around town for a little while and, you know, let the rings break in. So I think I'm gonna do that. I'll take an extended drive tomorrow, drive around. But yeah, this I think was a successful rebuild. I'm happy with it. I will post the final tally of what everything costs me in the description. I'll put a little spreadsheet with parts and tools and whatnot, and machine work, all that stuff, labor. So, not much more to say about this other than I want to thank all you guys who have stuck with me all this time, keeping up with the series. I want to thank everybody, especially who donated money towards this project. Really appreciate it. Didn't even ask you guys and you did it anyway. It was really cool. So yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate all your comments, everything you've been saying all along. I read everything. I try to respond to as much as I can. So big thank you to just everybody who follows this channel. And yeah, I can't thank you enough. Anyway, that is a success on this project. This project is over. I've got new stuff coming up in the future. I realized as I was driving this thing around, oh yeah, need 2 front wheel bearings, or I don't know if it's 1 or 2, but I'm gonna do 2 front wheel bearings, and need new brakes, probably all the way around, so I'm gonna do that, and then I'll think of some other stuff to do. Anyway, enough talking, that's the end of the video. If I earn your subscription, thank you. Make sure you click on the bell icons so you get notifications when I release new videos. I'm the 50s Kid, thanks a lot for watching.